Shit, this is Big Flow.
Yo, what's up? This is DJ X.
This is K.
This is J-Ball.
This is Vez.
This is Juno.
You're tuned in to GFG TV.
So we're live here at GFG TV.
You tuned in to GFG TV.
And you're now tuned in to GFG TV.
When you're tuned in to GFG TV.
West YouTube, this your boy Big Ray West. You tuned in to GFG TV.
Yo, it's the future, and you're now tuned in to GFG TV.
So, we will kick it off. We are sitting down here with the future on GFG TV.
I'm just happy to be here.
Glad to have you here. We're gonna pick your brain a little bit and learn a little bit about more. Learn a little bit more about what makes you tick.
Yes, sir.
And I love editing because I can fix that.
Fix all that shit.
Fix it all.
Hold on, before we get started, I'm tell these kids calm the fuck down, dog.
Bro, why did my pocket type Lil Gito, bro?
That's some new guy.
Little
I don't know who that is,
Gito.
but he probably makes some weird music that I wouldn't understand.
Bro,
I'm a dinosaur and I accept it.
I just birthed a new age rapper with text out of my pocket. That's fucking sick.
Does he use words?
Didn't look like it, no. So,
He's probably melodic though.
unfortunately. Alright, so
I wonder if Bone
wait
would
for him to
be
get back.
considered mumble rap though.
Who?
Bone Thugs and Harmony. I'm just saying I couldn't
I
understand
think
a lot of that
that's
shit. I was there.
It was speed rap though.
I know.
At
That's
that-
what we
that's
called
why
it.
It was considered speed rap. Mumble rap is slow and you still can't understand it, right?
I think so. You're probably right.
Alright.
Urban Dictionary, let us know.
Yeah. So, the future. What is your name and where are you from?
Yeah, the future.
There you go.
I'm from New York, upstate, probably like 45 minutes north of New York City. Small town, actually, super small town. Yeah, the name came in like '98 just from rapping, and I used it in a rap. My first name was actually Reality, which was terrible.
Reality?
Yeah, because my name is Ray,
How did I
and
not
then
know
reality raps were my thing. And so, ipso facto, reality. But it didn't work. So luckily the future stuck. And then there's obviously an artist named Future since then. But I always kept it because I had it for so long that I knew, like, what would it matter? If I ever got in a position to worry about it, I'm in a good position. And I'll worry about it then. But I knew I probably had it longer than him just because I've been off the porch so damn long. So, you know, I had that shit for a long time. But that did come up, you know, the name obviously throughout my time creating and rapping and, you know. But
Anytime
I had
you
it
have
first.
Anybody that blows up that big with that name, you know, they would obviously say something.
It was inevitable. I knew somebody. You knew it's a pretty generic name, to be fair.
Yeah.
I just had it for so long I kept it.
Yep. Nothing wrong with that. So, where are you from again?
Walk Hill is like it's about 45 minutes north of the city. We could take like a train right to Grand Central Station, so it was like close enough to where, you know, we could take the Metro North right to go to the city, but it wasn't the city, you know. It was a smaller town. It was pretty crazy, you know. I went to alternative school, and you know, we could take a bus for $1 to the hood, you know, and like kind of do whatever, and then take a bus for $1 back home. So it's kind of crazy when you think about it. For $1, it was like, you know, 12 miles away, but when we was like 13, 14, 15, we'd just get dropped off in Newburgh, and you know, I don't know what I should disclose and how, you know. So
Yeah.
but it was a smaller town where, you know, but it was still like it was still like super New York, but there was like mountains, and you know, it was beautiful. It was a great place to grow up. I always say I'm glad that I grew up in New York, but I get to raise my kids somewhere else, because I don't, you know, I got the good from it, but you know, it's a lot.
Yeah, it's a busy place.
New York is a lot. Yeah, hell yeah.
So, what about some childhood friends?
I mean, you know, I got people's names tattooed on me. My story is long and pretty, you know. So yeah, I was cool with some people. You know, back in when childhood friends, like obviously I lived in New York till I was 22. Then I moved to Ohio, and I lived there for 10 years. you know, and then I moved back to New York when I was 30, and then I moved here when I was 31. So, you know, there's, like, I have friends from New York that I grew up with. One of them actually went to Ohio with me. You know, we was trapping and making music and all that stuff. But throughout those different periods of time, I've met different people. So, like, I know a lot of times childhood friends, you know, are literally your friends from your childhood. But I have day ones that aren't actually from day one, you know. I love you, so
Yeah.
like so I have friends. I don't want people to think I don't have no friends. But I've had to start over multiple times and kind of, so I've learned that time doesn't necessarily dictate, you know, friendship. So
Nice.
but yeah, had some adventures in New York growing up for sure. Met a few famous people, you know, because I was homeless for a while, so I was like rapping through that. You know, kind of rapping was what got me through being homeless, really. So I remember they found, like, I had a big ass stack of raps and shit, and the police found it, and they was like wilding, because they was like, hey, it talks about shooting people and all this stuff, you know what I'm saying? But it's rap, you know. But it was like a big deal in that town, you know what I'm saying? But like, you know, I was outside for a year, but I was rapping at the same time, so you know, some of my stuff was gonna get turned up somewhere.
What school? Like, did you?
I went to an alternative school. I brought a gun to school when I was 12. You know, and I'm not even gonna. I ain't shit. So I would have liked to start with, preface all this with I ain't shit, and I'm just appreciative to have a chance to tell a little bit of my story. So none of this is to glorify anything. I'm just happy to be here. But when I was 12, I got caught with a gun in school. But it was really just, it's like my dad sold drugs and shit. You know, so he was cool with all the older people. Like kids, really, because, you know, I'm 12, but like, so like 16, 17, 18-year-olds, like, you know, sons of the people he was friends with. So, like, I had a lot of older friends, like a lot of older people around me, you know what I'm saying? So I had got into a situation when I was 12, and all the older homies is like, well, we just gonna go over there and, you know, do something to them. So, you know, they go over there and they kick the door down, all that stuff, and do something to them. So, and they give me the gun to hide and shit, and tell me I got to give it back to them the next day. So that's the only reason I got caught with a gun in school, to be fair, because I had to give it back to the older homies, or they was gonna beat me up. So that makes it less cool. But that's why I ended up in an alternative school, because from there it was kind of downhill. Because I made the front page of the paper in that town, and then I was never gonna have a chance to turn it around. They was always gonna treat me like that kid who brought the gun to school, you know.
Yeah. Coming from a small town and pissing every single person off.
Everybody.
I know exactly
Everybody.
what you're talking about. The motherfuckers. I was failed from the beginning. So what brought
But
you
look
to
at us
Iowa?
My brother actually. So yeah, my brother was here. My brother did like 14 years in the joint or something. So I had reached out to him. I wrote him a few times, but I didn't know if he was getting them. And then he found me on Facebook or whatever when I was in New York. And me and Melody was in a shelter and shit. So, you know, he's like, yo, you want to come to Iowa? You know, I'll give you a job, fill your wallet. If you don't like it, you can leave, you know what I'm saying? So he sent me a fucking box with a GPS in it, with his address and $500, you know what I'm saying? And gave me a job, and I've been there ever since, 10 years.
That's dope.
You know, but my brother always told me, like, because like I said, he did 14 years here, you know. So he was like, if I got a job at a McDonald's, then I was gonna, you know, be a GM of McDonald's, or I was gonna run a McDonald's. So the company that he got just happened to be the job that he started. Now he owns the third biggest one in Iowa. So
Your brother do?
yeah.
That's sweet.
But that's after doing all that time and just getting out and getting after. So that's what brought me here. Yeah. So there was you know, New York. There's obviously a lot that happened. You know, I was outside. You know, I was rapping while I was outside, trying to survive that. I was outside for like 3 years. You know, so a lot of shit happened during that time. Train stations, living in all type of shit.
And when
Met a few famous people and
People
some
that
shit.
might not understand when you say outside, you talking about like homeless?
Yeah, I was outside. Like I wore the same clothes for 4 or 5 months at a time. Like I was outside. Like they would leave plates for me in different people's houses and shit. Like I would know where to go to get food and shit. I was outside. But you know, it also was like I was rapping. So like it was terrible, but it also was crazy because like I met Fredro during that time. You know, from Onyx and shit. So like that was kind of crazy. And then so when I met him, you know, we started going to Yonkers and we met this dude that was making DMX's video game that was part of the Rough Riders and shit. So there was a lot of, we were supposed to do Little Kim's birthday party and shit. There was a lot of stuff. So the entire time I was outside, I was rapping too. And I was outside in the sense of like, you know, wilding. You know what I'm saying? So I was in the streets too, but I was, I was outside. I'm doing great now, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was outside.
We all have a story. We just
No,
tell
for sure.
our
That's why,
story.
yeah.
We all have a story.
It was so, and then in Ohio, but that's what was so crazy is, I was outside, fucked up. My man, who was with me the whole time from New York. So yes, my childhood friend. I had my friend from New York was with me in Ohio. I still talk to him now. DJ Traction was DJ Cypher back then. You know, he's been my man forever. When I was homeless, there'd be times he'll come outside and be outside with me. Now, remember I said when I brought that gun to school and shit, nobody fucked with me. And I was a bad kid anyway, they probably shouldn't have. So I couldn't go to nobody's house, you know what I'm saying? So when I was outside, I was outside. But he would come outside and be outside with me, like that was my man. And he ended up moving to Long Island. And I think we've been, this shit is so long ago, I feel like we could probably talk about most shit. So he was moving around, you know what I'm saying? Like he was selling drugs and shit. And I was living in the train station, and I would go be with him like all day, and he had like TVs in his car and shit, but he worked at a law office too. I'd be in his car all day, he'll drive me off the train station like late at night, 2 in the morning, some shit, come get me early in the morning. So, but he was trapping during this time. And then my other friend came up from Ohio, he had moved to Ohio from New York. So he was like, he knew I was outside, he knew that the homie was trapping, he was like, well, why don't we move that to Ohio, start trapping out here. You ain't got nowhere to live. I already got a place out here. You know what I'm saying? So I really did go from like being outside to like I was taking bus trips to there's sometimes I would get on the bus, go back to New York, fill up, be back on the bus in 2 hours. Just moving. And then that escalated as well to like, you know, I've had a key that was mine. I've talked about that in raps and shit like. So I made it to a place like even when they raided my house and shit like public record, they found a lot of money, they took a lot of shit, you know what I'm saying? So it was a crazy change from, I went out from being outside, and rapping is what got me through all that shit, and then I started trapping, and we built a beautiful studio, all that shit. My man came from New York, and I wasn't trying to hear none of that shit. Like I was rapping, but I was way too worried about trapping, and kind of let the whole thing go, you know, so my man came from New York, and he was trying to get me to do something with it, because we had the bread, we was moving around, and, you know, we was talented, we was rapping and shit, but I got too caught up in, but I came from nothing. Like, I literally was outside, and then as soon as I moved to Ohio, my dad died, so there was no reason to go back, and, you know. So, it's kind of crazy how music, through that whole time, like, music is really what kept me alive when I was outside. Literally, there was times I'd be writing, and if I wasn't writing, I probably wouldn't have made it. It was cold as fuck or whatever, you know. And then, when I was trapping, I was making music the whole time, but I didn't do nothing with it. You know, it had saved my life before that. So, you know.
So
Yeah.
did that, you know, speaking of, you said papers and everything, did you ever serve time in prison?
Yeah, yep. I've been to prison a few times, yo. Yeah. When I went to Ohio, so when I first had got to Ohio, I might have been there like a year or something. I wasn't there that long though, and we just got into a situation where we was at the bowling alley, we was chilling. Somebody's phone gets lost, whatever. Somebody starts calling from it. Somebody took it. You know, this is early. I was like 22 or 23, so we still outside. You know, if he was outside, he was wilding. So they was calling, talking shit. You know, we was talking shit back. And then this girl called me. She was supposed to be with these dudes. They're like, oh, they're gonna beat me up. You don't come get me. Blah blah blah. You know, I ain't gonna lie. I took some acid and shit. You know what I'm saying? It's a Wednesday. It's a fucking Wednesday. I'm on some acid, you know what I'm saying?
Let's quote that.
Like, not like, yo, none of that, not glorifying none of this shit. They calling, they talking crazy. I'm like, I'm fresh from New York thinking, all right, these motherfuckers they're gonna have to know what it is if I'm gonna survive here, because I was trapping and shit, so I felt like I had to. So I said, fuck it, I'm going out there by myself, you know what I'm saying? You know, like, fuck it, we gonna see what's up. So I grabbed the knife before I even left. And I made some fucking nerd drive me. So it was me and some nerd. So he doesn't even matter. He's a fucking nerd. You know what I'm saying? I made all my homies stay there. And we drive out to this town. And I get out. It's pouring rain. 4 in the morning on a Wednesday. I'm on acid. It's just a terrible, you know, perfect storm of events. And they all out in the street. I'm out in the street. I didn't know that people followed me, so 2 other people followed me. So they behind me. I don't even know they behind me. I'm talking all types of shit. They rushed us, ripped my necklaces off and shit. And I stabbed a few dudes. You know what I'm saying? But that's what the fuck they get. Because there's fucking 13. I did time for this shit. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, I could say I should have did it again. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got me fucked up because there's 13 of these motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? What the fuck? You can't just run around with. I'm not tough at all, man. But I'm going to get home. Just so, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't just be running around. You know what I'm saying? I didn't even know what was going on. I thought we was going to pick the girl up. She's saying she getting beat up. They done stole the phone. I had my cape on. I thought I was doing the right thing. I'm trying to save somebody. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, stabbed them and shit. And when the motherfuckers figured out what was going on, they took off. They started running. And then the police pulled up. And I swear on Jesus Sandals, man, I was like, there's like, you know, 5 or 8 people still there, whatever. And one cop's there, and I'm like, yo, can I go get a drink? And I just walked right past him, and I just kept on walking. Rain is pouring. I'm walking away. I got the knife in my hand. Cops is flying by me. Boom, flying. I'm walking across the bridge. Just got the knife in my hand. Don't know what the fuck's going on. Yeah, fucking. That shit was crazy, yo. That's why I went to prison the first time. You know what I'm saying? That's what. So, but I don't feel bad about that shit because you can't just be jumping everybody, man. And you ripped my fucking chains off. I was mad about that shit, motherfucker.
All right. So we kind of spoke about your first time. You said going.
Yeah. So,
to prison,
yeah, stabbed dude, and I went to prison for that. But I didn't go that long. I went. And honestly, I also had warrants from New York when I first went to Ohio. So I kind of figured I was finna go away for a while. So I was on the run. So like I said, I walked away. They didn't catch me, you know what I'm saying? So I just left. So I went on the run for a little while. And then Melody's mom got pregnant. So when she got pregnant with Melody, I was like, I gotta turn myself in and shit. So I turned myself in thinking I was finna go away forever. I ain't know. I had stabbed some people and shit. And I had warrants in New York, excuse me. So I thought I was finna go away. But when I went, the warrants in New York turned out not to be that big a deal. So I actually ended up getting out on house arrest eventually. And then violated that pretty quickly. And I went back. Then I got out on bail. And I was able to be out for Melody to be born, which was pretty crazy. And then I had to go away. But what do they call it? I got the, they call it something. I can't remember. But basically, most states have some sort of first offender program. So for that, when I was in Ohio, I got the, you know, first offender program or whatever. Yeah. Search is what they call it. So I went to like a program and shit. So I wasn't there that long. Then when I went back, I was there longer, like 2 years or whatever. When I went back, because they raided my house and shit.
And you were on paper at that time, I'm guessing, when you got raided?
Yeah. And actually what was crazy is, because we had built a nice-ass studio, like I said, my man, we built a studio and shit, and I was like filing taxes and shit, you know what I'm saying? So, like, the PO thought, you know, it was working and shit. We was like creating pay stubs and all that shit. And we was just putting the money through Down and Out Productions and shit. So, even when my house got raided, there was a moment where because they didn't find nothing. There was a moment when the PO almost thought I didn't do it. But obviously I did it, so. Yeah, we had her tricked though for a while. Yeah, we was chilling.
What would you something that you would say you learned in prison?
You know, the craziest thing, the last time I went was that I didn't love my kid as much as I said I did because the motherfucker was in prison.
Say that again.
You know what I'm saying? Because, like, you know, like, I know I love my kid, right? So when I was in that program, they had this thing where, like, motherfuckers would get in front of you and kind of they was like, they break you down and shit. And you had to kind of break each other down and shit. And I'm a pretty solid dude, you know what I'm saying? So it's not that easy to break me down, you know what I'm saying? But one of the things a motherfucker couldn't tell me, and I couldn't say shit because I'm in jail, is, oh, you sitting here talking all that single father shit, and, you know, you got, well, but you here. And I had to, that was one of the hardest things I've ever accepted in my life because I don't give a fuck about no words. Words are fun, and people use them, and that's what we're here for. But at the end of the day, that's what they are. So there's got to be some actions behind them. And if I'm in jail and I made choices, I had 10 keys of work under Melody's seat before and shit. Like, I know I was reckless as hell. You know what I'm saying? When they raided the house, Melody just happened to not be there. I had Melody at this time. Like I was raising her by myself while I was out here. So she happened to be with her grandma. Like she was always with me. So, you know, like I knew I couldn't put her in that position. Yo, one time her fucking mom fucking stole like thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars worth of work, yo. Thousands and thousands of dollars worth of work. And fucking, I knew I had to pay for the shit. You know what I'm saying? So I made them take Melody and fucking leave so we could load up the guns. This is on Jesus sandals. I got 2 pistols in the kitchen because I know he coming. He already told me he coming. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, fuck it. As soon as he coming, I'm finna kill this motherfucker. He's coming to kill me. This shit is real. You know what I'm saying? This shit is real. You know, so I said that to say, like, I can't blame Melody's mom for taking that. I can't blame the plug for doing something like that. I put me in that position while I had a kid. What type of father am I really? So I had to accept that when I went to jail for the last time. You know what I'm saying? Because those were choices that I made. Like I said, I will stab dude again. You know what I'm saying? If I'm in that position. But the decisions I made that put me in prison the second time and took me away from Melody was on me. You know what I'm saying? So I can't go to jail talking about I do it to feed my kid. Like my daughter talks about her favorite Christmas to this day is when we was one of the Christmases when we was in the shelter. You know what I'm saying? So I know that these kids need us out here way more than anything we could get them. I know that because I ain't shit. I had like spinning rims before, and when spinning rims was a big deal. We had PlayStations in the truck. We had Lamborghini doors. Like Melody remembers all that shit. Like we had whatever we wanted. You know what I'm saying? Right. And that shit didn't mean shit when I was gone. You know what I'm saying? And I also know it didn't mean shit after when I got out, because when I got out, we didn't have shit. The day I got out of prison, my mother had Melody the whole time. I don't talk to my mother. We hadn't talked in 10 years before I went to prison. But luckily, she did step in to take care of Melody while I was gone. She brought Melody to me the day I got out of prison in a shelter. And just, here you go. So I knew I couldn't get back trapping though. You know, so I knew she just needed me there. And that's been my motivation the whole time since then. You know what I'm saying? So if you kind of paid attention, not y'all, you know what I'm saying, anybody who might be listening, you know, had nothing, feel like I had everything. And I'm talking about, I took a couple of my friends back there and shit, and people in Ohio telling stories and shit, like, you know, 10 bands in a weekend was a thing. Like, we was out here. You know what I'm saying? I had 28 people with the same tattoo as me. You know what I'm saying? Like, we was really out here. So, you know, she kind of lived, and then we had all that, and then we had nothing again. And now I don't have all that by any means, but I got her car, like her college fund is, you know, she's straight, like things are better. And it took 10 years, but there was 10 years of my life while I was running the streets. It's the same 10 years, and the outcomes are completely different. So I have enough data now to be able to say what I learned in prison is I didn't love my daughter as much as I said I did. That's why the fuck I was there. And when I realized that and got out, my love for her was my sole motivation in getting after it, and I got different results. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah. Facts. What advice would you give somebody living the street life right now?
You know, I'm gonna lie to you, I can't really answer that shit because I always want to be genuine, and individuals are individuals, man. You know, and the world's so weird right now. You know, jobs, it's so different now. You know what I'm saying? So obviously I would tell anybody the most cliche, just get up and work hard each day without hurting anybody, but I can't, you know, it's a weird time out here, man. So I guess I would just say find something you truly believe in, because most people don't believe in hurting other people, getting in trouble, ripping and running. That's not their core belief. I would just say find one thing that you truly core believe in and just grab onto that and build a foundation from there, and stay off the internet. Get the fuck off the internet, man. Get off the internet, man.
Yeah. Any siblings?
Yeah,
my spouse?
Yeah, my brother owns the company I work for. Brought me here, and then my sister is a teacher and shit. She's, you know, me and my sister super close. So she lives in Texas now. She was in Florida, now she's in Texas. Yeah, she's a teacher and shit. She got after it early. She paid her way through college and shit. Yeah. She does some seminars. She does some seminars and shit with some teachers, like other teachers. She was flying around and kind of teaching teachers. And one thing she said to me that stuck out is like, she said, teaching kindergartners is hard, but teaching adults to care is way harder. And that's just something that's always stuck with me and shit. So, Yep, but my brother, you know, did 14 years, owns the company. So I also have the shit that I feel like that I would say to anybody else is what's around me and what I had to do. You know what I'm saying? But it's hard to say that works for everybody. But at the end of the day, it's like that's what I'm seeing. It works for other people, and you know, so yeah, get out the streets and figure it out.
How old were you when you had Melody?
I was 20, 22, 23, 24. She's I was 24. Yep. Yep, because I stabbed dude when I was 22, and then was fighting the case for like a year, and then went through all that shit. Yep. And then we had Melody, and then when I got out when I got out of prison the first time, Melody's mom had her. You know what I'm saying? So, and took her, and I didn't know where she was. So Melody was away from me for like 6 months when I didn't know where she was. And when I first got out of prison the first time and didn't have Melody, man, I tell you what, I was a fucking animal, son. I ain't gonna lie to you. And, you know, I was violating motherfuckers and I was living wrong, yo. I'm talking about I was drinking probably every day, just reckless as fuck. And it was going bad, you know what I'm saying? And I got a call one day, probably like 6, 7 months, something like that. And it was her mom like, yo, this dude, you know, I can't take care of Melody. This dude does this, this, and that to me. And I told her, because now I knew she was in Texas, and I knew who she was with. I said, oh, now you know I'm going to find you. Because I know who you with now. I'm going to go find their family. So I'm going to find you. You got 24 hours. Put Melody on the road or I'm coming to get her. You know what I'm saying? She called me like 3 hours later and said, I'll come right now. I said, all right. You know, again, this is when I was trapping and shit, so we never was thinking about no money. I always had everybody working. So, got on the road in a motherfucking ice storm. My homie from New York, same dude that he was with me for everything, dude I told you about at the beginning. And I met Melody's mom in motherfucking St. Louis, and she gave me Melody with nothing but a diaper. And I had her ever since. But there was that 6 months where I didn't have her, and I'm talking about I was a fucking demon, yo. I really, really was. It was a real fucking problem. Because I missed her so much, but I still didn't learn because I kept trapping when she came back. I was young though. I was young. That's why I understand. I get it. But yo, and I gave her everything. But when I went away the last time and they took everything, I didn't care about none of that shit. You know what I'm saying? I knew I couldn't see Melody. I didn't care about none of that shit. So, hell yeah. But so I was 24, but I didn't have her for a little bit. And then I got her back when she was probably like somewhere between 16 months and 19 months, and I had her ever since. So I had her before I went to prison the first time for a few months. I went to prison the first time only for like 90 days or some shit, because it was in that program. And then I got out, and her mom had her for like 6 months somewhere in Texas. Then I got her back. I had her ever since.
So, we kind of asked you what you'd learned, you know, prison, but what do you think you've learned being a parent?
Yo, parenting's a big deal. We talked about that. I do want to say I also rapped in prison too, so I also want to keep that going. You know, cause you know that's a big reason why we here as well. You know what I'm saying? Cause motherfuckers be rapping, and that's why y'all inspire me and shit. So I rapped through all that shit too. Man.
What's something that being a parent taught you parenting?
Well, yeah, again, like yeah, for me, because, I didn't really have my parents, so I just knew, like, when I had Melody, it was like, all right, if I don't get it done, it doesn't get done. Like, she didn't ask to be here, right? All that cliche stuff, but I just took it serious, and since I had her, and as I seen our relationship build, and I would be around her friends or my friends with kids, and I just kind of started to own that role. I just started to realize how important it was. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it's almost like I don't have good advice, and I didn't really learn anything other than there's nothing more important. Like, I truly do believe that a man's highest calling is to be a father. Like, I do believe that shit, because it's like, yo, they need us out here. They need us out here. They need strong, like, role models who are protective and who are making the people around them comfortable. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I don't want you to ever shortcut yourself again, sir. You're a great dad, and you have a lot to teach people. You have downcut yourself a little bit too much there. You've talked about what happened a long time ago. You're not to cut yourself short, but your
I
kid's
appreciate that.
grown in an amazing
Yeah,
young
man,
woman.
I'm blessed. For
So
sure.
the distance that you've traveled from the point you've talked about is a lot different from where you are right now.
Yeah, I will say, like, obviously communication is key, and I know that's also so cliche, but I was always one to, and I'm like that, obviously, I'm like that with everybody. I'm not bringing nothing to bed. Like, I'd rather just, and obviously it's not a perfect world, you can't always do that, but for the most part, that's how I treat parenting as well. Like, whatever it is, I just want to address it. Let's just talk about it. Let's just put it out there. I didn't never really hide nothing from her, you know what I'm saying? But I also I understood that I can't just say it. So, like, nobody would ever smoke in my house. It wouldn't be just people in my house. Obviously, I haven't had women around, none of that. She always felt safe. Like, and I say this as a joke, obviously, but sometimes almost to a point that's too much. Now the bar is so high. She's comfortable out here. She's safe. She's comfortable in who she is. She has her beliefs. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful. You know what I'm saying? She goes to church and she has beliefs that directly fly in the face of the church, and she has the same understanding that I do. And she goes with what makes her happy. She does what makes her happy. She's good to the people around her. But again, I think that really comes from communicating and just being very open, but also with myself and accepting that I can't say things or do things. They have to line. You know what I'm saying? It can't be, what's that saying? Do as I say, not as I do. I couldn't do that. You know what I'm saying? So, and that was tough, right? I had to live. I had to really sacrifice, and I had to give up certain things, like, but I think it was worth it. Again, I found amazing results and rewards from it. So I've decided to take a different path in parenting, and it was my sole focus. Now is actually the hardest time, because as she gets older, and I've kind of put her in a good position, at least the best position I can, coming from where I come from, I don't know what to do next. That's something I struggle with a bunch. You know what I'm saying? Because we're always going to have to be a father. We're always going to have to be parents. Like, it doesn't go away, but it changes. So I'm seeing this next phase to be the hardest for me. You know what I'm saying? Because it's been my whole purpose. So now I'm starting to try to figure out what is my purpose as a man beyond being a father. But I'll tell you what, as I'm getting older and shit, I'm about to be 40, so and I feel like I'm stepping into my prime. And, I attribute that to, since I put so much emphasis on being a father throughout my 30s, and just for that period of time, it doesn't really matter the age, for that decade of time, I think I'm a better man for it. So, I did think I missed out on some stuff, but it seemed like it was worth it to me. So, just, yeah.
West YouTube, this your boy Big Ray West. You tuned in to GFG TV.